Good morning or afternoon, everyone. This is Jeffrey from Parker Dewey. Excited for today's session. We'll kick it off in a couple of minutes. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeffrey Moss from Parker Dewey. Really excited you can join us today for what will be a great session on how to really transform early career recruitment with micro-internships. Um, we're excited to really talk about how organizations are using these short-term projects as a core part of their early career recruiting strategy. One thing I want to note before we get started is today's session is very much focused on employers and helping employers make better hiring decisions based upon real-time candidate engagement and skills data. So you can build relationships with those individuals who could be future summer interns or full-time hires or really other parts of your team. If you're a student or recent grad or a college, again, feel free to stick around, but this session is very much focused on employers. So what we're going to talk about today is an overview of micro internships and experiential recruiting, why this works, and how to introduce this into your organization. We're going to spend about 30 minutes talking through these topics. Yes, we are recording this, and yes, we'll send the slides and recording afterwards. I also welcome you to post any questions in the chat or Q&A. I'll try my best to get through those questions as we talk through the session, but we'll also leave some time at the end as well. So real quickly, as a quick background, Parker Dewey has been around for almost a decade. Since our founding, we've been 100% focused on creating real experiential recruiting opportunities for employers to engage prospective candidates and use a skills-first framework to see them in action. This experiential recruiting approach is time-tested and proven. All we've done is try to improve it to make it more accessible for early career hiring. We've removed all of the points of friction, the paperwork, and hassle that would normally exist, making it easy for you and employers to capture the data and respond to changing needs. And this platform captures a ton of data, as we'll talk through, data that can help you improve early career recruiting and can't be found anywhere else. Data to help you engage candidates that are aligned to your roles and see how interested they are in your organization. Data that provides insights on skills that we know are vital for great hires, communication, problem solving, grit, but they're difficult and tough to determine from the traditional process. Data that aligns with the strategic goals of your organization, those areas that CHROs and business line leaders and even CEOs and CFOs are focused on. And we do this in a way that directly benefits hiring managers, providing a ton of actionable insights for recruiting teams. And quite honestly, is how these college students want to be engaged through real-time opportunities. So let's quickly dig into some of the challenges that are being addressed. We know that traditional early career hiring isn't working. 71% of college students say the process doesn't let them effectively demonstrate their skills, and they're looking for ways to do that. Nearly half of the early career hiring are leaving their first job within the first year, and hiring managers are struggling to assess those skills. And we know the cost of getting it wrong is high. The cost per hire is rising. And again, what's ironic is one-click job apps were supposed to address this accessibility and cost, but what they've done is actually increase the cost and made it more difficult as we get inundated with resumes. So employers spend a tremendous amount of time trying to guess which applicants are the right ones and which ones aren't driven by AI, and are still struggling to drive interest from candidates that align to their needs. It's not about volume, but getting the right applicants, candidates that have connections to your geographies, that are interested in your industries, that are excited to work with you. While all of this is going on, employers continue to spend time and resources on candidates who don't stay. Renegs and ghosting continue to increase. So how do we keep them engaged? Well, with the stakes higher than ever, what's your plan? Instead of hoping candidates stay, how can you assess that earlier in the process? Instead of relying on static resumes, how can you evaluate candidates based upon real work? This is what we're going to talk about, because the status quo is expensive and frustrating, and it doesn't need to be. So what we're going to show you is how, beyond looking beyond the traditional playbook, companies can have candidates who are excited before those companies set foot on campus for the career fair, and engaging those students who want to come to the info session, even if they've never heard of the company before. We're helping reach first and second year students when they're most hungry to explore career paths and companies and industries, or the students who are perfect for those last minute requests from hiring managers. Students who attend school elsewhere but want to return home upon graduation, but they're not going to your focus schools. How can we help reach those students that align to those needs? It's also about giving you the opportunity to see the data of job readiness of students based upon skills, not academic pedigree. This can help you improve decision making, but also demonstrate the effectiveness of your program and better identify schools and opportunities for collaboration. It's also giving you insights on the actual level of interest by the candidates, because what we're not talking about, or because what we're talking about is not one-click job applications. You have to actually see consistent, thoughtful interest by candidates, showing you which ones are most likely to convert and stay. And it's not just interest, it's actual skills. Things like short answer questions give you insights similar to a phone screen, but in less time, helping you tease out those core skills like communication and attention to detail. And it doesn't need to stop there. You're able to get real insights on skills before the interview, not based upon GPA or major, but actual feedback from hiring managers. This leverages the fact that both employers and new hires know it's a bad fit within the first week with someone on the job. We've made it easy to get those insights before making the hiring decision. And this skills-based hiring approach is so top of mind for CHROs and other HR executives that what we've done is incorporated into what we call experiential recruiting. This is the intersection of skills-based hiring and employer branding. It helps organizations cut through the noise to reach those candidates that are most aligned to their hiring goals, and providing insights on skills to improve decision-making, not just hire, don't hire decisions, but even those earlier stage decisions about who to interview, who to invite to a super day or an info session, but not do it based upon GPA or major. And in this economic environment, it gives data not only to directly support your work, but also to highlight it and showcase it to others within the organization, showcasing why early career programs are vital to the strategic success, how your work aligns to initiatives around AI or whatever hot topic, and being able to present the data to executives, CFOs, business line leaders, or department heads to show them how you're helping them achieve their goals. Well, the way we do this is with the concept of the micro-internship. As I said at the beginning, this experiential recruiting approach is time-tested and proven. We've done it by making it accessible and applicable for early career hiring. We've done it by taking away the paperwork and other hassles and friction so both parties can learn and move fast. Now, as I said, we're going to share the slides so you can see the nuts and bolts of all of this. But in short, these are short-term, bite-sized experiences that engage students to drive them to want to learn about your organization and keep them engaged after they've expressed interest, after they visit your career fair booth, after they've raised their hand and said, I want to get to know you. But it also allows you to quickly see their skills in action in a way that's not captured from a resume and before you invest a bunch of time. This is what feeds the platform that I showed you and plugs right into the processes you're already doing without adding to your workload. And while the experiences are good, it's tracking these insights continuously so you can continue to improve. We've made it easy. Instead of it being hypothetical, I'll show you a couple of examples. This is what we do with organizations. We will take full-time roles, like the entry-level data marketer. We'll help tease out what those core skills are, both the technical skills and other core skills like communication or attention to detail or grit, and create project ideas that are accessible for students, that drive interest in your organization and provide insights to you about the actual skills. All of these examples don't require access to internal resources or internal tools. When a student is doing a project to essentially audition for an HR summer internship role, they may be looking at your job descriptions that are publicly available and comparing it to job descriptions of other organizations or doing research on student clubs or production operator. Again, this is a role that's going to require someone on site for the full-time role, but a micro internship might be manufacturing best practices. We want you to do research using public info about this or developing a training manual. All of these are examples that tease out, again, does an individual have the skills that align to your needs while also driving interest in your organization? And the assessment is built into the process. This is really key. Every step of the way, you're getting insights on skills without having to change your process. And this isn't just technical, but again, those core skills. Unlike one-click applications, you're getting a preview of grit and level of interest when they're applying for the project. Unlike a phone screen, you're seeing communication skills as they're going through the process of completing that micro internship. And unlike an interview, you're actually seeing problem solving and professionalism firsthand from actual work product. Which leads me to the second question. Why does this work? Why are students willing to do this? Well, at the end of the day, this works because it's how students want to be recruited. By listening to the students, companies can spend less time and effort trying to figure out how do we encourage them to engage? How do we drive them to show up to our career fair info session? How do we make sure we're hitting those students that align to our goals? Well, 95% of college students said this form of experiential recruiting is how they want to be recruited with companies. It's how they want to learn about those organizations and opportunities, and it's how they want to demonstrate their skills. But it's also important because it allows you to engage those students, those prospective candidates, when they're most interested in being recruited. Introducing your organization to a first or second year student is so much more effective than trying to change the mind of someone who's already determined what is the right company or internship or full-time role. And unlike telling that sophomore or freshman who visits your career fair booth to apply to your internship next year or inviting them to an info session, this is a great way to keep them engaged along the way while also allowing you to see their skills. This creates a competitive advantage in converting the interns to full-time hires and also lowering the risk of renegs. Now, one thing I sort of touched on briefly earlier, but really want to hit on is 100% of these micro internships are paid. These are not simulations. These are not sort of made up experiences that students are invited to do at their own leisure. This is something where students are actually paid for their work. And to be clear, we're talking about a couple $100. It's less than 20% of the average cost per hire, sort of even if you gave a whole bunch of these, and the fraction of a cost of a summer intern. This ensures all students have access. Now, again, I'm not going to reiterate the NACE data that we've all seen about the importance of paying interns, but I do want to highlight that this is important to ensure that students don't have to be forced to sort of trade income from part-time roles that helps them sort of pay rent or pay for books to be able to participate. It also gives student real skin in the game and creates a network of ambassadors on campus who are excited to talk about your organization. And again, happy to talk more about paid experiences and the importance of that if people have additional questions. But it's also not just about engaging the students. Why does this work for employers? Well, we built this tool to support your goals. It's a way to, again, engage those students, to gain insights. And it's not just the candidates, but it's the data. And what's also worth highlighting is for companies that don't have existing campus recruiting or it's limited or under-resourced, great. This is easy to introduce. It helps drive success with fewer resources. But for those organizations that already have established campus recruiting programs, they're doing really well. This can plug right in. It can plug right in either to address sort of a specific challenge that you're facing, that thing that's keeping you up at night that you can't crack, or even just to get the most out of your existing efforts to help sort of supercharge them. Well, how can you put this in action? Well, think about a role that you know you're going to be recruiting for this fall or next spring, a role that's always open. Are you always hiring for engineering students that might be interested in business development, like Smith Nephew was? Or is the CHRO talking about the importance of hiring more data analysts? Or a business line leader that's always trying to find students interested in construction management? You can use this platform to get early access to those students as you're building the pipeline. And by the way, to that business line leader who likes to always hire from his or her alma mater and sends frustrated notes to you asking why he had to interview a certain candidate, now what you're able to do is share actual work samples even before you're asking that hiring manager to interview and get insights on the skills of a candidate before you move someone to that next step. And what about that student you met at last year's career fair who didn't join your organization either because they were an underclassman and you didn't have the opportunity, or they didn't join for some other reason? Maybe you didn't make the offer. Maybe they decided to accept somewhere else. Well, this is a perfect way to keep those students engaged because they're likely still going to be interested this fall. Now you can hit the ground running. And of course, if you have last minute needs, roles where someone may have reneged, or you got a last minute job spec or something that needs to be filled immediately, this can help solve it. And now what you'll have is a talent pipeline that's not a stack of resumes, but actual candidates who are actually interested and excited, who have taken the time to engage with you. You'll have insights that let you spend time with those candidates that best align, and data and resources to support your organization and respond to what matters most, not just for early career programs, but to the teams overall. So how do you put this all in action? Well, I'm really excited to talk about a program called Gigs for Good. This gives employers of all sizes opportunities to see the platform firsthand with no cost. I'm really proud of the fact that over the past several years, there have been various organizations focused on driving more organizations to sort of dip their toe in the water with experiential recruiting because they see the power of it. Organizations like the DeLuca Foundation or SHRM Foundation, where it's very much aligned to their mission. Colleges and universities like Bucknell or Nova or George Washington, that they're trying to provide more opportunities for employers to engage with their students, or other organizations like IBM, where they're building up sort of training for college students in areas like AI, and they're really focused on creating these pathways. Through Gigs for Good, you're able to offer micro-internships to students to complete these projects with no cost to you. This lets you reach students that you might not otherwise meet. It creates the on-demand pipeline. It helps you shorten your to-do list. And what it also does is it lets you see the power of this platform firsthand and give you the data to understand if it can fit within your organization and to demonstrate it to your peers, again, with no cost. It lets you audition the concept and bring it to action because we know budgets are tight. We know budgets are committed. This gives you the data and evidence to see it and to determine and make the case in the future. Again, you can try this with zero risk. You'll have instant access to a national pool of early career talent. We fully manage the process. Again, all the admin, payroll, compliance, everything. And not only does it let you test drive the platform, but you can actually test drive or audition the candidates earlier in the process. Employers love this beyond the fact it lets them try it with no cost. It lets them see the results, typically within 48 to 72 hours, because these projects will fill quickly. They can see it without a long-term commitment, and they're able to see the data to get insights. Insights on individual candidate performance, but also insights on, are there specific schools maybe we should be doing more recruiting at? Should we be looking beyond certain majors? This isn't a test. This is a fast, low-risk way to improve your hiring strategy today. And again, 3 quick examples to show you how you can do it. If you have a role open right now that you're trying to fill, job auditions are a great way to do it. Smith Nephew, a medical device company, did it specifically with sales roles and HR roles, where they gave students projects that aligned to those roles, both driving interest, but also allowing Smith Nephew to audition. Maybe you're starting to think 3, 6 months down the road. Again, Train Technology did it with campus ambassadors, really helping build relationships with the various clubs and organizations on campus. So when you show up in the fall or this winter, you already have a network of organizations excited. What if you're thinking ahead? Whether it's hiring in the future or thinking about early ID programs, great example with Xylem. Here's a way to start to build that pipeline of students, whether it's tied to AI or cybersecurity or supply chain or anything else, again, to start to build that relationship. Maybe you're starting to think about sophomores. Maybe you're starting to think about, we don't know if we're going to need interns for next summer who are juniors, but we want to start building up that pipeline so we don't have to be as reactive in the spring. Again, great opportunities. So what now? Well, get started. We included a couple of QR codes here. I'll also going to put a link in the chat to a copy of the deck if anyone wants to download it. But again, feel free to use the QR codes and schedule some time with us. Schedule time with me or members of our team to talk about the free trial. It's kind of a no-brainer, as I affectionately say, or to meet with the team to answer questions. We love doing this. We love it. And everything is designed to be simple for you. So I don't see any questions coming. Hopefully I did a good job. What I will do really quickly now is show you just at a tactical level how simple it is to post these micro internships in 3 easy steps. In short, all you have to do is post the project, select who you want, and the work gets done. You don't need to worry about how are we going to engage candidates. You don't need to worry about scoping the project. You don't need to worry about any of it. We make it really, really easy. And to that, you can use the existing templates. We've been doing this a long time. We have a whole bunch of examples. Even if you send us a job description for a full-time role or a summer internship that you know you're going to be looking for, that you struggle to fill, we can even create that micro internship for you, as I showed you before. We're really simple. We just need to know what the project is, when the deadline is, and any other criteria you have. Are you specifically focused on reaching sophomores? Do you want students tied to Tulsa, Oklahoma? Are there specific skills you have in mind? The more you can share with us, the better we can do in helping hone it out. Once the project is posted, the students apply. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to think about how are we going to get them engaged. As I said, 95% of college students want to be recruited this way. So it's really easy. Once the students apply, you will only see those candidates who applied. No flipping through hundreds of thousands of applicants trying to guess who's going to be interested or not. You'll be able to see those who apply. you'll be able to see their resume and LinkedIn and all of that other fun stuff. But what you're also seeing is short answer questions. Why should we pick you for this project? Please describe your experience doing PowerPoint presentations or data analysis around blank. Again, the types of questions you would normally ask in a phone screen. This takes less time to review, but what it also does is teases out other skills like communication or attention to detail or problem solving as you read through these answers. It takes 5 seconds. That's one of the things I love. And obviously, you can then dig into the resume or anything else. We want this to be simple. Once you select the student, again, really easy. I'll typically have a kickoff conversation with the students, either whether it's one student doing it in a single way, or if I'm picking 5 students to all do the same project, I'll schedule a Zoom call and I'll record it for anyone who can't join. I think it's really good. I think it's a good way of making sure you're clarifying any questions about the project that students may have. But it's also a great way to start to build that relationship with the student that not only lets you assess their skills, but builds the relationship that drives conversion and retention. Students then are able to use the resources they have available. Again, you don't need to share anything. They're using public data. Of course you can, but typically they're using completely public data. And they're submitting the projects directly to you. If you have questions along the way, we have an entire client success team based here in Chicago that's happy to support, but it's designed to be easy. We also handle everything, all of the payroll for the students. They're on our books, all of the accounting documents, everything. And by the way, if you decide to hire someone for a summer internship or full-time role after the micro internship, as one of my colleagues likes to say, we'll send you chocolate, not a bill. There's no temp to perm or conversion fee. We want this to lead to hiring. And then again, when the project's done, you can leave feedback for the students. This is not an hour-long process. It's a couple of minutes just to let the students know how they performed. It's incredibly valuable for their professional development. And as we said, this helps you. It helps you connect with the emerging talent, reach students who may not apply because they're not aware of your company or don't go to a focus school, but they'd be a perfect fit. It helps you experience their skills firsthand. Very limited time commitment. It's a low lift, hassle-free way to get insights and engage. And again, you're getting valuable insights, not just on the students themselves, but also on other opportunities with your program. And solving the challenges around brand awareness, reaching targeted students, aligning to your DEI and access goals, and doing it at scale. So with that, if there's no questions, this will conclude the webinar. Again, please feel free to reach out with any follow-up questions, scheduling time with members of the team or anything else. I really appreciate you spending some time with us today. Thank you so much. And this concludes the webinar.